After getting dismantled by Lamar Jackson on Monday Night Football, Rams have apparently righted the ship. 2 convincing wins, including last night's 28-12 win over Seattle. Los Angeles is now 8-5, but still on the outside looking into the playoffs. Are the Rams still contenders in the NFC, Max?
Yes, they are, and they took a beating against one of the Ravens wins that had us going like, oh wow, look at this. Was the Rams, but you don't judge a team, I don't think, on their best or their worst night. You can kind of throw those out if you really want to get an accurate assessment of a team. And with the Rams, it comes down to Todd Gurley's health. And by the way, it always has. And McVay, as much as he can be criticized, I think the criticism should be, okay, when you can run play action with Todd Gurley, you guys look unstoppable. But, Coach, what if you can't? Because if you can't go to that next level, you see this in every sport. The greats can make an adjustment, and a second adjustment, a third adjustment. And if you can't do that, it's just a parlor trick. And eventually the league will catch up because they'll do the same parlor trick, and they'll figure out how to stop it. But with Gurley healthy, that's a hell of a trick. Jared Goff with a healthy Gurley is like an elite quarterback. I mean, like last year, he was an MVP, 2/3 of the season, candidate anyway. So if Gurley is healthy, yes, the Rams can make the playoffs. And not only that, they're live in the playoffs.
Like Brady would be if he had.
If he had Todd Gurley,
I thought you said you wasn't going to bring up Brady no more.
But notice I said Jared Goff is like an elite quarterback if he has.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't even want to mention the word elite about a quarterback that's got 15 touchdowns and 14 interceptions this late in the season. I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, Jared Goff has a lot to prove, and he's overpaid right now.
Agreed.
With that being said, I will say this. I think the Rams are finished. You got a road game against Dallas. You got a road game against San Francisco. And then you got the game against Arizona. I see them winning 2 of those 3 games. It's not hard to predict which 2 I think they're going to win. Okay. All right. Okay. So we know this. So you'll have 10 wins on the season. It's not going to be enough. And so as a result of that, I just think it's one of those situations where we know that the NFC East will not have a wild card. We look at both Minnesota and Green Bay, who continues to win. I think they both get to 11 wins. I think that eliminates the Rams. I'm not talking about their personnel, because I got a lot of respect for Sean McVay. To get blown out the way that they did on Monday night by the Baltimore Ravens, and then to come back the last 2 games and to win in the fashion that they've won. Him, Les Snead, Stan Kroenke.
So you think the Vikings are going to beat the Packers and the Bears?
What's the Vikings' record right now?
The Vikings are
9-4.
They got 9 wins, and the Rams have 8.
So they got 3 games left, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm saying that I think that they'll win 2. I think
they'll win 2 of the 3, and so will the Rams.
I think
there's a chance the Rams get in instead of the Vikings.
I think Green Bay, and this is what I'm saying, I think Green Bay and Minnesota both get to 11 wins. Yeah. The Rams get to 10. They all went 2 of their last 3. Yep. But I think the Rams are going to come up short.
I could see easily the Vikings losing 2 or even maybe all 3 of their games. You know why? The pressure is, the money's on the line now, Kirk Cousins. Now the money's on the line.
I don't know, but they haven't had Adam Thielen.
If you can say that about Todd Gurley, if you can say that about Jared Goff because of Todd Gurley, I can certainly say that about Kirk Cousins because of Dalvin Cook.
Well, Dalvin Cook's a beast.
I would have more confidence in the Vikings at this point. Just because of, not number one, who they have to play, but also the Rams. Can you give Todd Gurley 27 touches the next 4?
Well, I would have more confidence in the Vikings because they're a game better in the record.
But that's what I'm saying, Max. To your point, like they look a lot better because of Todd Gurley, but it's also 27 touches for Todd Gurley. Mm-hmm. Now, in order for the Rams to win, I think we both agree about what you said, is that this needs to be the output from Todd Gurley. Because also with that being said, to your point, Stephen A., Jared Goff still threw 2 interceptions in that game. What the story of the game was Todd Gurley and the defense giving up 12 points. Right now, when you add that into the factor, that may be a difference. If the Rams can carry this type of defense, they quite possibly could win.
Don't let Fowler and them get hot.
One quick point before you go on, both of you go on. Minnesota has a road game at the Chargers.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody minds a road game in Southern California. I'm here to tell you that right now. It's a beautiful thing. The other thing is the last 2 games against the Packers and the Bears are both at home. Yeah. They're not losing both of those
All
games.
I'm saying is
they're not losing both of those games.
What I'm looking at is the Vikings better not get caught sleeping against the Chargers.
And you say that because of Cousins.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's legit. Yep. It's legit. When I look at what the Vikings have done, to me, Cousins is a tad better at this point than he's been in the past.
I agree.
A
He's ticking
tad
up.
better.
You guys
He's
are
ticking
missing
up.
one major point, though, besides Dalvin Cook, besides how good that defense is. He hasn't had Adam Thielen. And they've
He's
still
back.
been getting it done.
He's
He's
back.
one of the
Yeah.
best receivers in the
Yep.
game. Having him back is going to be a huge
And
If he
People
throws
forget
it.
about that, and that's a huge loss.
And if you're wondering about the Packers, all 3 of their games are against Division 4, Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit. But the thing about it is, only one of those games are a home game. All they need is one more win.
Here's the
No,
thing.
by the way, the Packers are another one.
need
That's what
one
it
more.
comes down
Here's
to.
the thing, though. Who
I
are-
believe in Aaron Rodgers.
Like
I don't
who-
believe in Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but at this point, like, who are the Packers? Because
Yeah.
a 2015 victory over Washington ain't good, boss.
You think they can win the Super Bowl?
Green Bay?
Yep.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Not because of what we just watched yesterday in New Orleans.
What I love about this season so much is
The parity?
no one's thinking about like Packers Chiefs in the Super Bowl
Yeah.
right now. It
No.
could happen.
We're thinking about Niners.
It could,
Ravens.
but I mean,
I will tell you this.
all we have is what we
Last
have.
5 games for the Packers, they've won 3 of them. They only scored 11 points in a loss against the Chargers. They scored 24 against Kyle Allen and the Panthers. They only scored 8 in a blowout loss against San Francisco. The Giants, they put up 31, and then this weekend against the Redskins, they put up 20.
Yeah.
Their offense, they should have been. They should be
That's
better
my
by
point.
now.
Yeah.
That's my,
The Packers' offense
that's
should
my
be better
point.
by
From
now.
what we've seen of the Packers, now with the money on the line, that's what I mean about this time of year. We've seen Aaron Rodgers guarantee the playoffs, win 8 games in a row when we left them for dead. Don't let the Packers offense start to really get
Question
unlocked and Rodgers start to look like an MVP, which he.
It's just so hard for me to say that when I've seen, after watching the Saints in San Francisco, like that's one of those 2 teams coming out the NFC.
But neither one of those guys can do what Aaron Rodgers can do.
Yeah, but neither one of those teams. I mean, the Green Bay can't do what either one of those
On
teams
defense, certainly
On
not
And
like
by
they
the way,
can.
before we move on, as far as the Rams, they always play Seattle tough. So I'm not really
No
taking
doubt.
a lot of stock in that. I think they've
That's right.
beat them 3 of the last 4. But we got a game tonight in the NFC. My quarterback, Eli Manning, back out there. What do you guys think? Eagles take care of business. We know that the Cowboys are a game up and have the tiebreaker.
If you're Eli Manning, you should be smiling because y'all are going nowhere. The head coach will be gone at the end of this season, and you're playing with house money. You combine that with the fact that the Eagles' front 4, they've been relatively compromised due to injury, and their secondary is straight garbage. If you're Eli Manning, this is an ideal situation for you to be in. Having said all of that, I still expect the Eagles to win this game, and I think the Eagles are salivating. They could not have asked for a better situation because you have arguably the most stationary quarterback we've seen in the last decade. Eli Manning does not move, and you're talking about a guy that they're going to go after, and he'll go down at the sight of him.
The Giants, like if you're playing daily fantasy, you take some Eagles receivers right now. I want to say something about Carson Wentz, though. Mm-hmm. This was in the Inquirer. This was in the Inquirer. When everyone's talking about, guys are dropping passes. Completion percentage has dropped from a career high 69 last year to 62 through the first 12 games, fallen at every distance. Completion percentage on throws of 20 or more yards have dropped from to 30, dropped 11 to 19 yards, dropped. Everything's down.
Dropped too, yeah.
Everything's down. He is 18th in passing, 17th in touchdown, 24th in completion, 30 in yards per attempt. Like, I'm just saying, the reason I'm bringing out these numbers that the Inquirer listed them, he is not good this year, people.
But Max, did the Inquirer bring up the weapons
Did my
that he has
former
to throw to?
newspaper bring up how many dropped passes have occurred?
I think that was actually covered in
Well,
the
why
article.
didn't you read that?
Because you've made that point many times. My point is not just, you can't just look at the lack of weapons or the drops that they've had or Peterson uses him differently. At a certain time, it's done with excuses. As I've said all along, the pocket is collapsed. Just watch Wentz closely this year. Pocket's collapsing. He thinks he's good. He takes the sack for a loss. Pocket's holding. He bails. His instincts are shot right now.
Because his receivers are shot. And you bring up all of those numbers, but then bring up drop passes. That's very slick on your part. That's very slick on your part. Very slick.
Baker has had some comments yesterday that might have ruffled some feathers. So what's the bigger problem, his mouth or OBJ? We'll discuss.
Max Slick Kellerman.